What you are about to hear is not a simple tale, nor a piece of imagination created to frighten you. This is a true account, the result of an investigation carried out in a shopping plaza in a northern city, where something beyond human understanding continues to exist. I must warn you, for the sake of the people who risked everything to share their stories, I cannot reveal the exact location. If I did, they could lose their jobs, or perhaps even more than that. This case came to me through a friend, a man who worked on repairs inside one of the shops within the plaza. His work took place during the quiet hours of the night, when the square was empty, its long corridors echoing with silence. He told me that while repairing the premises, he saw a child, small, fragile, trying to enter the shop. But the child wasn't alone. Something else tried to enter as well. Something that was not human. Those words haunted me. Days later, curiosity dragged me to the plaza, where I met the owner of the shop. I explained that I was collecting material for a horror story, and to my surprise, he didn't hesitate. He shared what he had witnessed. His advice was chilling. If I wanted the truth, I had to speak with the head of security, a man who had worked there since the very first day of construction. At that time, the head of security wasn't available. It was his day off, but I didn't want to waste time, so I spoke to other workers in the plaza. Some were hesitant, others nervous, but one woman from a clothing store confessed something even darker, that besides the boy, a girl had also been seen wandering inside the square. The following day, I finally met the head of security. His words carried weight, not only because of his authority, but because he had been there since the very beginning, back when the plaza was nothing but an empty, fenced piece of land. He had seen everything from day zero, and his story was far more terrifying than anything I could have imagined. As my investigation expanded, I reached out to former guards and workers, piecing together fragments of experiences that, when joined, revealed a disturbing picture. In total, 20 different people collaborated to bring this story to life. Without their help, it would have been impossible. And I assure you, what follows is absolutely real. I myself spent a night inside that plaza, and what I experienced confirmed everything they told me. But before I share my own encounter, I will begin with the account of the head of security, a man who has survived almost 2,000 nights inside those haunted walls. He told me how he was hired more than a decade ago, before the first brick of the plaza was even laid. At that time, the land was surrounded only by metal fencing, stretching across 1,200 square meters, big enough to fit over 100 small houses inside. At first, there were just 3 guards, one for the day shift, one for the night, and himself as the supervisor. Their duties were simple: keep intruders away, watch the workers, and, most strangely, ensure no one took photos or videos. For a construction site, that was an unusual and suspicious rule. From the start, things didn't feel right. The digging went far deeper than necessary, 4 meters below ground level, covering the entire property. Not only the plaza, but even the parking area had basements, stretching endlessly beneath the land. For 3 months they worked on this subterranean labyrinth, and during that time police often arrived to inspect what had been unearthed. Nobody ever explained why. When the basement was finally completed, 4 new guards were hired exclusively to watch it. No workers ever went down there, no machinery was stored inside, yet it required constant surveillance. The guards didn't last long. Within the first week, 3 of them resigned, claiming that something lived in the darkness, something that stalked them throughout their shift. The head of security had no choice but to cover a shift down there himself. With nothing but a flashlight, he patrolled the endless underground space. He admitted that every step felt like he was being followed. Every echo seemed unnatural, and whispers floated in the air without a source. That one night left scars on his mind. To this day, he is convinced that the digging awakened something ancient buried beneath the earth. As construction continued, representatives from different companies visited to oversee their future shops. Among them, a cinema chain stood out. Their representative frequently arrived with food and drinks for the workers, eager to ensure that his section, 10 entire shops worth of space, would become the crown jewel of the plaza. But it was in that same area where the worst began. Accidents started happening, but only in the cinema zone. Workers were injured in bizarre ways, tools slipping, scaffolding collapsing, machinery malfunctioning without cause. Nobody died, but one man lost his arm in a freak incident. And at night, in the basement directly beneath the cinema, guards began reporting strange sightings. They claimed to see a figure moving in the shadows, always lingering in that very section. Months passed, and finally the plaza opened to the public. But the horrors did not end. They escalated. From the first weeks after the excavation, strange noises began to echo from below. At first, the guards thought it was rats or maybe leftover machinery creaking in the dark. But then, they started hearing footsteps. Not just one set, several. Sometimes fast, like someone running. Sometimes slow, dragging, as if something was limping just behind them. One guard swore that while he was shining his flashlight across the basement, the beam caught a figure. Not human. Its body bent at impossible angles, limbs too long, its head tilting unnaturally as though it were studying him. The moment he blinked, it vanished. But it wasn't just what they saw, it was what they felt. Down there, the air was heavy, suffocating, as if the walls themselves were breathing. The guards began refusing to go underground. One even said that while patrolling, something whispered his name directly into his ear, though no one else was there. The head of security lowered his voice when he said this, as if speaking about it might wake it again. That thing never left. Even now, after all these years, it still walks under the cinema. Then came the girl. At first, it was the cleaning staff who saw her. A little girl, no older than 6, with long black hair covering most of her face. She was often seen near the clothing stores or running across the hallways late at night. The strange part was that she never made a sound. Her footsteps were silent, her dress didn't rustle, and her lips never moved. One night, a cleaner saw her standing at the end of a corridor. He called out to her, thinking she was lost, but when he took a step closer, she took a step back, without moving her legs. She just glided backward into the shadows and disappeared.
The security guard himself admitted to seeing her twice. The first time, she was crouching in a corner, her face hidden. When he called for her, she lifted her head. Her eyes were hollow, black voids that reflected nothing. He ran that night, and he was not ashamed to say so. The second time, she was holding something in her hand, a doll. But the doll was missing its head. And then came the boy. Unlike the girl, the boy was different. He didn't appear lost or silent. He was active, mischievous, almost playful. Workers often heard a child laughing in the middle of the night. Doors would slam on their own. Lights would flicker as if someone was running past the switches. One guard said the boy once ran straight at him, barefoot, his laughter echoing through the empty corridor. The man froze, unable to move. When the boy reached him, he vanished, right before impact. But the guard felt small hands push against his chest, hard enough to knock the wind out of him. Others reported that the boy sometimes tried to enter the shops, scratching at the glass doors or peering through the windows with a grin too wide for his face. The head of security admitted that the boy frightened him more than anything else in that plaza. Because, unlike the girl and the thing in the basement, the boy doesn't just appear and vanish, he interacts. He touches you. He wants you to know he's there. The guard finished his story, but his eyes never lost their haunted look. He confessed that after nearly 2,000 nights, he still couldn't get used to it. And when I finally stayed inside that plaza myself, I understood why. That night, when the silence grew heavy and the shadows began to move, I realized something terrifying. The plaza isn't haunted by just one spirit or one restless soul. It is a nest, a trap built over something that should have been left buried. Even now, I can still hear the echoes of small footsteps behind me, the giggle of a boy in the dark, and the scratching of something crawling deep beneath the floors. And if you ever walk into that plaza, remember this: some children are not children. Some laughter is not innocent. And sometimes, when you think you're alone in the dark, you're not.